Hey, good morning, everyone. Big Gala Kasla for showing up. And today I have a wonderful guest. You can see in the background her art. She is in Rome, Italy. She is a complex minded person that has beautiful things at her fingertips and creates all kinds of art. And I am so grateful to have her next to me, Barbara Sbrocca. I hope I said that correctly.
Yes, Darren, thank you. Ciao. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
So wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining us. This is a follow up from the Octopus Movement Think Tank we did a week and a half ago. We're actually getting into a new one coming up. And we were talking about ecological genocide, ecocide. Should it be criminal? How do we punish people? You know, all of those things. Those are some big topics that for me kind of were hard to go, oh man, if it's punishable, then what do we do with all of that? And so that yesterday's discussion we talked, you know, a little bit about that, and so you have a completely different perspective on this. What is ecocide to you? And good morning. And first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm jumping the gun here because you have a lot going on. So forget that question. Tell us about Barbara. You know, where are you? Who are you? What's going on?
Wow, huge questions. Okay, Barbara Sbrocca, yes, that's my last name. And I live in Italy. I'm an artist and former communication and marketing person. But I changed my life and I dedicated myself to the good ones and to my art, which is for the good ones, by the way. So yeah, I joined the Octopus movement, and that's why I'm here, because we met on the think tank the other week, and we were talking about ecocide, and I don't know if I have a completely different approach, uh, but I think it's complex, and so to face, to talk about the idea of ecocide and how to solve the problem, we should like break the huge problem into small chunks and see
Right.
how can we face all the chunks. So the idea is to make it as simple as possible, which is not easy because it's a complex problem and all the responsibilities are difficult to address. So yeah,
Definitely.
let's talk about how to address responsibilities first, and then we can go on.
Absolutely. How do you address your responsibility, or how
Well,
do you view it to be your responsibility?
I started changing my whole life actually once I started studying and actually actively wanting to learn what was around me, because that's another point. You have to want to open your eyes and ears to what's around you, because up to a certain point I was feeling, but not with open eyes. I was feeling uncomfortable, like for example eating the way I used to eat. I was a total carnivore, happy to be carnivore. And if anyone approached me saying, oh, like any vegan or vegetarian would approach me saying, stop eating meat or whatever, I would go away. And it all came like slowly and naturally, starting and caring. Yeah, that's probably the verb. Starting caring for not only the environment or animals, but for us, for humans. And I started studying because at the time I had my boyfriend at the time was economist, and he started talking to me and actually teaching me about the consequences of some small choices that we do every day when we purchase, when we go shopping, when we purchase everything we eat. And we were talking in particular about chocolate, which I love so much. And he started talking and telling me what's behind the market of chocolate in terms of
Yeah.
macroeconomy.
Tell
And
us one dirty truth. Like, what was the just nastiest small thing that really was like, what? Why are they doing this still?
oh, well, slavery for starters. I mean, all the basic commodities like sugar, chocolate, cocoa, chocolate, tea, rice, corn. I mean, behind that kind of market, I'm talking globally, there is still slavery. And so, I mean, I'm talking decades ago, I started studying about fair trade. What's fair trade? In
Yeah.
Italian, we say commercio equo e solidale. And I remember thinking, what is that? I mean, and when you start studying how the chain of the production of everything, like cotton, like fabrics,
Right.
you buy a T-shirt for, I don't know, like $10, and you think, oh, that's great. It's a great bargain. It's a great thing. But how can a T-shirt, cotton T-shirt, cost just $10 or five? How
Yeah.
can tomato sauce? I'm in Italy, so how can a bottle of tomato sauce can cost 50 cents?
Yeah.
There is slavery behind. So once you start opening your eyes and start reading and start studying and start asking questions, then there's practically there's no way back. So I started, I cut off animal-based proteins cold turkey in 24 hours. And I thought it was something, there was something wrong with me. Actually, it was not intentional. It was just, yeah, at first
What
it was
drove
not,
that? Why did
well,
you? I mean, all of a sudden, I mean, that's a huge switch. You said you were a massive carnivore to then,
I
you
was.
know,
And actually, it was the 2nd of January 2012. I remember it precisely. And I was cooking myself, for myself, a piece of the turkey meat with potatoes. And I don't know why, but it was something like I felt kind of the smell of it made me sick. And I
oh,
thought, okay, maybe and the meat was okay. It was fresh. But I thought probably I had too much. It was the 2nd of January. There was all the holidays. And so I said, probably I've eaten too much food, too much meat these last days. Okay, I will eat it tomorrow. And that day, I remember, all I wanted was fruit.
oh, wow.
And the day after, I was still feeling that sensation of, no, I don't want any meat, any fish, and it was any animal protein actually that I was not looking for. And I remember friends like teasing me because I was famous for being a meat eater. I mean, yeah, my friends knew me as buona forchetta, we say in Italian, a person who loves to eat and who loves to eat meat and fish. And so they said, okay, it's just a phase. It's just a phase, short phase, like days, hours, and it lasted years, years and years and years. But the thing is that also I had started my own radio program a couple of months before that January, and my program was about sustainability. And so for the program, I was studying and I was watching a lot of documentaries, like I remember Earthlings, and then there was Cowspiracy, and many documentaries about the process of producing meat and fish, and about farming. So that's all of a sudden block in my body. All of a sudden,
Sure.
it was not just the body. It was probably the sum of everything. And at a certain point, my body started saying, that's enough.
So for you, it wasn't necessarily you are imagining the carnage of an animal being brutalized, like some
Not,
people get there. It was you were seeing this ecological aspect of this and saying, I can't be a part of it anymore.
it started like, as I told you, like just the body going out. And then I realized that all the pieces of the puzzle were, merging and going at their place. So I realized how the impact of being like omnivore. I interviewed many people for my radio program, also the author of a book about land grabbing, which was another topic I never heard before, that land grabbing. So,
What is land grabbing to
land
the
grabbing,
people that are watching?
land grabbing is this phenomenon for which rich countries go, for example, to African countries and actually steal a huge portion of land for like something like 99 years. They steal the land. They make how do you say in English, accordi. They sign a contract with the local government. They pay nothing, like
Right.
ridiculous amount of money, nothing, and they steal the land from that country, from the people living in that country. Sounds familiar, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just for cultivating, like China is doing it, like many countries are doing, and Italy is doing that also.
Well, I think if we're honest, I bet you all of our countries are doing this because we all subscribe to this global capitalistic sort of mindset. Now, I'm not saying you or I, but the governments do, where we still are going to war for money, and the public doesn't always know that. We think, oh, this, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that about the Ukrainian-Russian war, because I don't know the details, but there's always money behind all of these things that drive things that we don't agree with, and so just because my country does it, or another country's doing it, to say they're bad and we're not is a ridiculous concept, right? Because I'm living in the United States, which is 100% stolen, continues to be stolen, and the people that were stolen from, still some have no fresh, well, they don't have drinking water. They can't get it from the ground, and they're traveling for it. And so that's just a glimpse, right? The US does it, but it's still happening around the world in these little pockets. It's why we've had wars, that were so prevalent in the last 100 years, was really that everyone was trying to grab this land to dominate resources. And they never take care of the human beings. It's always about a resource, which is,
Yeah.
God, it is heartbreaking.
Yeah,
And
and when the human beings try to escape from poverty, from wars, from misery, from persecution, from dictatorships, we block them, we push them back, and we send them back to die. That's what we are doing in Italy. We're having thousands and thousands of dead people in the Mediterranean Sea,
yeah,
people who were trying to reach our country to try and find a better life.
right.
And that's actually also one of the reasons why I started my Baci Sospesi project. And I see that you are running bacisospesi.com link website
Yeah.
here.
Since it's Italian and most of my audience is US, I'm just going to let that go through the whole show so they may get the spelling correct and get
Baci
on.
Sospesi. Literally, it means suspended or hanging kisses.
Yeah.
But there's also another meaning. And if we have time later, I will explain what it is. But let's keep on talking about ECOCIDE and
I do want to keep talking about ECOCIDE, but in a way, I want to jump to the art piece behind your shoulder.
okay.
Tell us about that, and because to me that if we believed in that art and we understood what you were saying, maybe we wouldn't have some of these problems. I don't
Well,
know.
this is a very simple a symbol of Baci Sospesi, the project I was talking about. And Baci Sospesi is the project that I started in 2 years ago in 2020, soon as the pandemic started. And here in Italy, we were in lockdown. And I was thinking about all the people who are forced to stay away to live their loved ones, not because of a pandemic, not as a temporary measure, but forever, like exactly the people I was referring to, the people who are running for their lives. They have to live back their family, their loved ones, trying to reach a place where to live and maybe establish, a better life, and then ask the family to rejoin or not. So I
Right.
was thinking, and I was struck by these news and images of people dying in our sea. And I was thinking, the water, it's crazy because the water is the symbol of life, and water is what unites all of us. When we are born, we are, the water
Yeah.
breaks and we are born, and this process is the same for everyone all over the world. And the water, the seas, should unite us, not divide us. So I was thinking, what if I create a project where I collect stories, love stories from people of different countries, different languages, different backgrounds, different cultures. And I create a project where you listen to their stories, but you don't see their faces. It's just audio. So you're not distracted by the color of their skin or their identity. You don't know their name. You just listen to their most intimate, profound, deep moments in their love experience. Because this is what we all share, the need for connection. We are all connected by the need for connection. And so I started this project. And this project has also a symbol, a visual part, which is these shapes, which are also in the sculpture painting in the back. And I call them baci, kisses, and each shape is such circular, but it's not a circle, because a circle is perfect. It's always the same. And these are always different, all different, because each circle, each bacio is one of us, and their shape depends on the proximity and the relationship that one has with the others. And that's exactly what we are. Our shape, the way we are, depends on the proximity and the relationship with others. And we are born alone, but we need connection. And so I created, up to now, so far, 2 sculptures in 2 towns here in Italy, which are also interactive installations where people go and leave messages for strangers.
Oh, cool.
And that's why also it's called baci sospesi. That's the third meaning. It's not just hanging kisses or suspended kisses, but for us in Italy, there's a tradition in Naples, in the south of Italy. There's this tradition. If you go to a bar and ask for a coffee, you can pay in advance a coffee for another person, a stranger person you don't know. So it's paid in advance. It's a kind of, it's a gesture of kindness for a stranger. So this tradition is called caffè sospeso, suspended coffee.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so baci sospesi, suspended kisses, is you go to the sculpture, you go to the installation of baci sospesi, and you leave a message of hope, a poem, a drawing for somebody. It's like giving a message in a bottle to the sea, and what happens. And people are exchanging messages via the baci sospesi sculptures. And I keep recording, having new conversation every week with people from all over the world. Up to now, I have recorded 28 conversations in different languages, and I have published online 26, but I'm going to publish the 2 new ones in the next days. And my idea is to have more conversations and to create more installations all over the world for the people to exchange messages. If you listen to all the conversations, of course, every story is unique. Every person has a different story and a different experience. But each and every one of the voices you will hear express the same need. And in the project, there are also 2 voices coming from people who have experienced that run for life and who traveled in that situation, the Mediterranean Sea. So, yeah, I wanted to do something, and I'm an artist. I want to do something my way. I think art, for me, that's my approach, my opinion. For me, art can reach people when it's not shocking, when it's emotional, when it's deep, but it's not a punch in the face. Because for punches in the face, you have newspapers, Chronicle. You just open TV and you have all the punches and all the shocks you want.
Right.
For artists now, today, maybe it was okay in the, I don't know, probably in the 50s, in the 60s, last century, to have that shocking approach. Now we have too much shocking news. And the duty of the artists is to testify the possibility of beauty and hope, is to how do you say, stabilire, affirm the beauty, the connection, the positive, because all the messages we are surrounded by now are negative. War, hate, the social media are,
Yeah.
whoa,
It,
places where hate is like thriving.
I think that's exactly why I don't participate in the social media side of things.
Mm.
And to go back a step, I'm new to the no meat game. I was like you until, I mean, I don't even know, 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago or something. And my cold turkey was, oh, I don't have to participate in something that I don't like anymore. I really, really
Yeah.
don't like what's happening, And for me, it had to be closer to home, up on near our Indian reservation in Vancouver Island. There's these salmon farms, and my family's been fishermen for probably 10,000 or more years up there and never had to go looking until recently. And now these fish farms, they isolate these salmon in a vertical pen, and their waste is staying in one location, which is not what any animal does in nature. And it's totally destroying the coastline, other shellfish, other small micro aquatic life. And that's what kind of irritated me at first. And then I heard how much waste was just from the meat industry. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, I love steak. Yes, I love ribs and I love chicken and I love all these things. But maybe I don't need to participate. Maybe I've had enough. And
Yeah.
for me, I didn't give myself a thing that said, you're done with this. It was sort of a graceful idea that maybe it's kinder to not participate in this, and it's actually better for me and more loving to operate in that way. And I haven't missed it since. I do eat some fish, but that, like you kind of had said in the beginning, but I'm trying not to make that my everything. you
Yeah.
know
Exactly.
I eat fish like it's special. I'm in the middle of the desert, so I always tell people you don't order fish in the desert. And so you don't find fresh salmon too often in the desert, right? So they're out in the ocean, and so we get it every now and then. And a small change in that is, if you're buying fish, looking, is it farm raised or is it from
Yeah.
somewhere else? If it's farm raised, you're not eating a real fish, by the way. It's not
No.
real. It's not properly fed. It's not what you've read about the health benefits of fish. So those are like ideas for me that were small, that then maybe ripple, right? And
Yeah.
now there's potential that I could have health benefits by not eating some of these things. And that's not what got me there, but it's what's going to get someone else there. Someone
Yeah.
else will
Everyone.
will get there because of compassion about animals, like my last guest. It really doesn't matter how you get to certain things. I think what matters is, like what you're saying, we're all different circles and we
Yeah.
all are connected. But the other thing I really love that we didn't talk about is the space in between all those circles that allows the other circle to be its own circle. And
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
if I'm at the bottom, I've got to let the one at that very top just figure its way out, to get to whatever is a proper life for that person. I've lived within things that I thought were right, that my parents taught me, and I did them really well. I thought business, capitalism, blah 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 blah. It tore me apart and it wasn't good for me. And so, hi Dorothy and everyone else that's joining us. This
Thank
is
you, Darren.
awesome.
Grazie.
And for me, when I started learning my indigenous language, one of the things that is hard for me, being a person that's highly creative and often excited, is I'll just jump in conversations and I talk over people sometimes. And in the indigenous conversation, it's meant to be slower. I'm meant to stop talking and I say, hey, which means I'm finished. And then you can talk. And in our culture, we don't do that. We don't have any space. If it's in a comment, I have every right to bash that comment or say whatever. No one's reading a comment and then going, I'm going to wait 24 hours before I respond to Perry because I don't like, because yesterday he sounded nuts, right? And then you come back the next day and read it and maybe you read it wrong, or maybe you're changed, or maybe Perry was having a bad day and he needed a phone call. So like all of those things just showed to me that space is needed, space and allowing people to be a different circle around this place, creates other things and other opportunities for change, like what you're encouraging. The other thing I wanted you to talk about is your connection with automobiles and bicycles. But before we do that, we have a special guest that wants to pop in and say hello. Dr. Octopus.
Yay!
Hello.
Yay! And you were talking about bicycles, and there is an Italian word for bicycle path. That is absolutely wonderful.
Perry
Right,
is referring to the pista ciclabile.
Darren, how does that sound?
I like it. I couldn't say it back. Say it again.
Pista ciclabile is the bike lane, and this expression in Italian makes Perry like, woo!
Makes Perry very excited, and
Yes.
yes, let's keep it that way. Yeah. Hello, guys. So
Ciclabile
happy
all
to
your
see
life.
you. So, and I have to tell you, we're having dinner with the kids, and while we were having dinner, we were listening to you guys. So
Oh my
thank
goodness,
you
we're
for doing
honored.
this. And I'm
Hello,
so
kids.
happy. Kids are now doing the dishes, so that's all fine. And,
Wow, that's great.
Barbara, I'm so happy you're explaining your art project, your love project you're doing in the world, because I think it's really, really cool. And these audio files that you create are just awesome, and people should really check it out and really connect with Barbara on Pick My Brain. And so the way you interview is so elegant and so beautiful, and the conversation is really, 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 really cool. So,
Grazie. Thank you,
ecco.
Perry. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's and when we were talking about ecocide and people destroying the planet and the linear systems in this world where we're focused on our personal success and career, and we're going for money, and we want to be happy, and no matter what, maybe there is a little bit of lack of love in the world as well, and maybe these people need to listen to your love broadcasting stories, Barbara, and right there,
Yeah.
it's a lack of love, I think, to just destroy the planet and just go for your own bank account and
It's
ego.
yeah. Yeah,
Well, and a lack of compassion that I think is in a lot of our youth, because they're doing things they are not meant to do, and they're just in a system repeating. I think that's the bigger problem, is people need the ability to go, no, you can be totally different. You're not wrong or bad because you're this way, or whatever label. I mean, between me and everyone else, I'm sure we could put together lots of labels here. Those things aren't affecting this conversation or what we're doing today. Because what we're doing today is using some of Barbara's art ability, using some of my strategy and networking, using some of your same strategy and networking to try to encourage change around the world. Look at the schools are sausage factories.
well,
I like this. This is
Yeah.
a Facebook user. We have no idea who it is.
in a way, he or she, I mean, they're right. Yeah.
Darren
So
is.
in fact,
Whew, okay.
But can
I
can I
I
can I?
agree. But if you're in school, there's hope you can unlearn everything, I promise. Learn
Yeah,
your
look at
own way.
us, right? And Sevda, that's a very good one. I like that, Sevda. Um, I heard a very interesting story yesterday. Um, about this linear system we're living in and expectations that can destroy a lot of things. So here's this gay couple, two women. So you have mom one and mom two, and they have a child, and their daughter was talking about that a normal marriage would be a marriage between a man and a woman. So her own family situation is two moms. And this 4 or 5 year old was saying, but the normal way to go is a man and a wife. And this child is 4 or 5. So she was raised by two moms. So that you would expect that that's the world you're living in. And then still when you're 5 years old, you're already that influenced by society
Oh
in
yeah.
linear expectations. This is how it should be. Amazing, right?
Look
I
at
found it
children's toys. It's the same thing where you have people of color choosing white dolls, in studies when they're always gravitating towards white dolls or the white Barbie sort of mindset. And this was a study, probably 15, 20 years ago, where it was just because they were around it everywhere they went. This was the majority. And so they thought, well, this one's better. They didn't go choose a toy and said, well, this one looks like me. They are going off societal standards instead of, defining beauty in a totally different way, which art does, which is what we need to be doing. I don't want to lose our total focus here, Perry, because you're
Sorry, yeah,
also no,
I'm
you're
messing
you're
things
in
up.
this. You aren't at all. I want Barbara to tell us about her relationship with bikes and cars because I think we can all relate to either attempting this or some aspect of this. So, Barbara, tell us what are you
okay.
doing?
First of all, let me just say to what Perry just told us about the little kid addressed by the probably someone at school. I don't know about parents should be man and woman. How vicious was that remark? Because you don't go to a child saying something like this. I mean, so okay. I mean, there are a lot
But
of
Barbara,
vicious and violent people,
no, but
like,
Barbara, probably the child has been looking TV as well. So at the cartoons, at everything, maybe that's also what the child sees and sees other
okay.
families and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Well, anyway,
I find it amazing too. Let's be very honest. Yeah.
it's a huge top. That's another huge topic. But anyway, talking about cars and bicycles, I have a bicycle. I don't use it that much because I use public transportation in the place I live, which is the part of Rome by the sea. Not everybody knows that Rome has a zone, a quartiere by the sea. It's called Ostia, and I live here since 4 years now. I have the bicycle, but I basically walk everywhere. And to go to Rome, to the center of Rome, and move around, I've always used public transportation. I've never owned a car in my life.
I
Yeah,
love that.
why? The main reason is because, as Pepe Mujica would say, if you know who Pepe Mujica is, he would say, every time you buy something, you don't buy something with money. You buy that something with the time you need to earn that money. So, in order for me to own a car and afford a car, pay for the car and all the expenses, insurance and whatnot, I would need to find I'm a freelancer. I would need to find a client and a job to maintain, to pay for the car expenses. And I much more prefer to have time, to have freedom. So it's a choice. And my choice is also because I've always chosen to live in places where they were reachable, easily with buses or metro or, public transportation. But it's a choice. And I don't like driving. I have the driving license, but I don't like it very much. It's crazy. People are stressed
Yeah.
too much. People are
And
crazy in the
Barbara,
traffic.
you're so right. And I see this trend on TikTok as well, that they call that the new rich. And the new rich don't spend their money on a fancy blinking bling bling state of the art car or state of the
No,
art branded clothing. They rather have an old crappy car and travel the world. They're digital nomads. They want to explore, they want to live, and
yeah,
forget about that expectation of, if I behave this way, then people would allow me as being a successful person and they want to talk to me. And they call that the new rich. So it's a new generation that is sharing all these videos saying, I'm the new rich, I'm traveling, and I
fantastic.
live in my little car, and I just want to see the world and meet people. What we're doing at
Exactly,
the Octopus Movement as well.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
travel the
I,
world, meet
yeah,
people, like what's happening here. Yeah.
I prefer being instead of having. But after working, like the first decade of my working career experience was in advertising and marketing. So I was on the other side of the fence,
Yeah.
and I know exactly how marketing creates the need for anything. You need to buy, you need to have this and that and the other, because you want every one of us, we don't want to feel alone. We want to belong to any group or tribe or whatever. And so these are all tricks to give the false impression that you belong to the tribe that wears that kind of brand, the tribe that drives that kind of car, and whatever. And so I laugh at influencers now. I laugh, and I am scared also, because they're the product of what a part of people like me did. I gave up that kind of word decades ago, but I think it's all because of people want to connect, want to. People are afraid of being alone, and once you manage, and once you, I created a word in Italian which is mixture of two words, and in Italian it's identitudine, which would be identitude. It's a mix in between identity and solitude. So once you reach that point in your life when you can manage of being alone, because you have your spine, your identity, you're not afraid of being alone, so you open up yourself to the world. You don't need marketing, you don't need brands, you don't need stuff, you don't need things. You want experiences, you want encounters, you want conversations, you want smiles, you want small things. That's why I
Love.
was
We want love,
love,
Barbara.
Yeah.
absolutely, connection. When I say love now, lately, when I talk about my project Baci Sospesi, I also add the word separation, because when I talk about, it's a project about love, okay, but love, it's, fluffy and pink and romantic. Separation, what emerges from all the conversations that I recorded so far, it's how the role of separation in a good way. I mean, like, going back to that term that I created, I think I created, I don't know if it already existed, identitude, identity and solitude. Once you realize your own value, once you learn how to take care of yourself and how to cure yourself if you're ill, then you're ready to be in a relationship, in rapport. And that's the pivotal point in every story. So that's why now I talk about Baci Sospesi, a project about love/separation. And marketing is based on the fear of solitude. And
Yeah, that's cool. We need to create this into the movement with the hashtag Identitude by Barbara Sbrocca.
I love that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
So
think,
Barbara, I'm going to ask you again. Sorry,
yeah,
I'm going to ask you again. Explain to me exactly. So not how the word is made, identity, and solitude,
identitudine, yeah.
but what is the meaning for you? What does this word say for you? What does it mean? How do you feel about this word?
Okay, you know when there's a feeling when you know who you are and you're not afraid of who you are separated from another person, that doesn't mean that you don't care, or that doesn't mean that you are okay with who you are, whatever state of your mind you're in. It means to have the awareness, to be aware of who you are as a human being, and not project or not confound, you say in English, yourself with somebody else. So you are independent emotionally, but it does, this is a complex topic, because when I say you are independent, it gives immediately the sensation of cold or
No,
detachment.
no,
You're
I don't
meaning
think so.
like the circles. You mean independent but connected.
Esatto, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
it's true authenticity, right? It's your inner self,
yes,
and
it is authenticity, but it doesn't, for me, in my life and what I feel, it doesn't mean that you're okay wherever you do, however you are. No, because you can be profoundly ill, like profoundly depressed, or any other mental ill. Perry, that I care about this topic, mental illness, a lot, because the more we talk about it, the more we erase the stigma, because it's illness. It's not, we were not born with it. It's something that we can cure, and get out of. So we have to talk about this. There are people, when you are in a situation of illness, and you're not, what you do is not good. It's not that you are this wonderful human being that everything you do is okay. Because if you're ill, you can be violent as well. You can, probably you are ill because you received violence. You were, receiving violence as a kid, very young, probably. But after a while, you got ill, and you can be violent as well, unconsciously. So if we address this and we talk about how you can be in a therapy and change and transform your unconscious and transform yourself, then you can go out in the world and be aware of who you are and let yourself be in a relationship. But so I'm not, when we talk about everyone is okay, everything you do is okay, no, that's not true for me, because there are violent people. It's not okay. If you're a violent person, it's not okay what you're doing. So how can we distinguish? And I think it's subtle, But
Beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
there are macro examples. Of course, if you kill a person, or if you rape a person, or if you're ill profoundly and you're vicious and you have to be put in a situation where you cannot harm anybody, first of all, and then possibly also cured if it's possible. But there are subtle nuances of
I agree. And
violence.
I have to interrupt. Sorry, beautiful people, but I have to go because within 5 minutes
Oh,
I'm going into another Zoom. I just
no.
wanted to pop by and say hello. Pop hi. No, pop by. Do I say that correctly, Darren? Pop by?
Do
No.
we say anything correctly? They're just noises coming out of our heads. You're fine.
Yes, especially with me. Yeah. I
The
just wanted to
Popeye
say
was
hello.
nice.
It's all
Yeah.
perspective. I know what you mean.
I'm Popeye. Yeah, it's
You're
popping
Popeye.
by is of course wrong. Okay. Bye bye,
So,
guys.
ciao,
Thank you for
Pedro.
coming.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you so
Ciao.
much, both of
Thank you so much,
Ciao.
Perry. See ya. I'm glad he came by. It really changed our discussion in a way, you know. I was going to get really into asking you about, you know, maybe why more public transportation and that, but you know, the real core of the issue is if we could love ourselves, it would change the way we operate. And I'm telling you from personal experience, I guess, on paper, mentally unhealthy, or in the past have been, and in my youth have had violence on me. I've performed violence. I was in the military. I used to carry a weapon at all times until, gosh, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I replaced all of those things with what you see behind me. Literally, like, this is my former handgun that I used to carry all the time. Exact dollar amount. I'm like, get it out of my life and replace it with something that's inspiring, that doesn't take away from another person. That was my first idea.
Yeah.
But I had to love myself because I never gave myself permission as an adult to have or buy these things that I considered toys. I'm new to art, Barbara. I have not lived in my own identitude, like you're saying. I didn't know what solitude was. I didn't know how necessary it was for me to be myself. And I just thought I was this wild extrovert and I had to be, you know, always doing.
Yeah.
And when I let go of some of these sort of forward momentum all the time, capitalistic things I was taught, and realized, oh, I'm fine. I don't have to do any of this. And things are working out. You know, when I fall into inspiration, more things happen in a positive way. And hopefully that leaves something for the next generation on the table, you know, instead of me just in the past, just building homes as big or as fat as I could to get as much money as I could. Now, I don't like seeing an excavator cutting the dirt any longer because I feel it's unnecessary. And I'm like, there's so many other things that people could be doing or just for themselves. I've met so many millionaires that I've helped double their income or create a beautiful home for themselves, right? That are the most unhealthy, miserable humans. And not to be negative at them, but they don't know what identitude is. Their identity is just on whatever society told them as a youth, and they mastered it and they got really good at it, but then they have it all. I mean, the most ripped off I've been was by a billionaire that got everything they wanted. I mean, everything they wanted on contract, everything. And still they felt like they needed to steal. And I don't like saying dollar amounts because I feel like that's egocentric and things, but just know that that dollar amount was so huge it wiped my family out and it caused me into a spiral I didn't know. I was in depression and anxiety, and I lost my vision, like I told you. I had all these migraines. I didn't know it was all stress. I didn't understand it was this pressure I was putting on myself. These thoughts running through my head were not mine. They were words my parents said to me, but they didn't know me. My parents didn't know that I was an artist. They couldn't see through the lines, right? And so at the core, yeah, you're not going to be an asshole and destroy your neighbor's stuff if you love yourself completely, you know? And I feel like you really nailed it here. So, yeah, recycle, yes. You know, ride your bike, yes. You know, our first guest talked about washing her hair with products she makes herself, and like that, all of those things are wonderful and beautiful. And all of those things are that person's way to love themselves and kind of make sure they're not taking away from the rest of the world in their way and leaving space for the next person, which I really love. And it's a lot less harsh than you know, you get the sort of vegan person or whatever that's angry at the carnivore, but that no longer works, you know.
No.
Anger no longer works. We have to be smarter about our message, and we have to portray it in a way that's inviting. And your
Yeah,
art's doing that.
and also think, for example, I told you I was vegan for 7 years, from that 2nd of January for 7 years. Then I moved here by the sea, and I started feeling the I I wanted to eat fish again, and I started eating fish again, not meat, but eating fish, without judging myself, without saying, "Oh no." I said, "Okay, let's see what happens." And now I I find myself that it's not necessary. I don't want it anymore. I mean, I'm slowly, gradually, but not even thinking about it. But I find myself eating less and less and less, and wanting more and more and more just plant-based food. I mean, I didn't eat. I stopped eating meat. Never eaten meat again since the 10 years ago. But a little bit of mozzarella on pizza, or like there are eggs in the common gelato.
Right.
So, but I don't buy eggs, and I don't buy mozzarella. So I eat fish. I buy fish. I used to buy fish and salmon, and but not octopus. After watching the octopus, my octopus teacher,
Yeah.
I was touched, so I could eat salmon, but I'm not going to eat salmon anymore. So it's a process. If we are not like pointing guns, or mental guns to other people and judging all the time, but we are it's a balance.
Yeah.
The right balance between wanting to be a better person, and so improving and watching it yourself, and really thinking about what's happening to you inside. And again, it's most of the time it's non-conscious. We move in the world, in the relationships, without the rational part, and that's
Right.
what makes us human and beautiful. Animals are very rational. They generally, people think the opposite. Animals are instinctive and we are rational. It's the opposite. It's the other way around. Animals do the things for precise purpose, surviving and multiply the species. We are
Definitely.
capable of the irrational things. We are capable of poetry. We are capable of, irrational, which
Yeah.
it's the human part that makes us beautiful. So if we take care of our irrational side and unconscious side, and if we live and we preserve that capacity to feel and react and welcome and propose and be creative, it will come naturally, each one with their time, to care for also the environment. But the world, the environment comes after, in my idea, comes after this healing process. If we don't take care of ourselves and other people, if we are in constant battle with ourselves and other people, how can we be curious? How can we take the courage to open our eyes? I was watching 2 nights ago, I was watching this documentary that I missed on YouTube and I posted online. It's Dominion. You can find it on YouTube. It's like Earthlings. It's very difficult to watch. I was like this all the time, watching these images of pigs and cows being slaughtered and whatever. I put until the end fish and dogs and cats and but it's my choice. I want to know what's happening around me. It's not the first time that I see that kind of images.
Right.
That's why
I've had to go completely the opposite direction and be so gentle on myself that I can just hear from someone like you and go, I know that's the truth. And that I even can't watch violent movies or any kind of violence in general. And that's because of my own inner workings and things that don't work with me any longer. And if I don't put them in, I can be more of the man, the human I want to be. I can be more loving. And what that created was enough space for me to become plant-based, right? I could have been like my wife. She got there with just this shock and awe. And she's like looking at me like, how come you aren't compassionate like that? And I'm like, I feel compassionate. What's wrong with me? But my dad is a rancher. His dad was a rancher. And, I grew up with life happens and animals die. And that's just life. When you drive by a feedlot, and you look over and you're like, that's disgusting. And it's just like, and I grew up hearing, that's just what life is, son. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize I needed to question what I was doing for myself, and that me not participating in that industry doesn't mean that I am avoiding the violence. It's just, I don't have to participate. And so I don't. I can do it another way, and I can, and it's going fine. And I don't have cravings, and I don't have any of this kind of stuff, and everyone gets their own way. But some people definitely need to see this documentary, right? Because most of the world has no idea, because they go to the grocery store and they go home and they think that's life. And they don't, I'm in the middle of rural Washington State, U.S. And, one day when I was just picking up some vinyl records from a person I was buying online, I'm driving with my wife in the car, and some butcher is doing his thing next to the road for no reason. It did not need to be there. They had a butcher vehicle, like they have portable butchers that do that around here. But it was like right next to the road, and it just wrecked my wife's whole ride home. And she's weeping, and I can't get there. If I see the same thing, I don't weep. I see it and I know it's wrong and I don't like it. But she's just weeping and her day's a mess. So all I can do is learn to go, oh, I need to pay attention that was super hard for her and that I can't relate to it. And that's fine.
But something can change. I mean, I was like you when I was a meat eater. a huge carnivore, I wouldn't weep myself. Today, I'm changed, but it didn't take me 10 years. But still, for example, that's what I'm telling you. I could not eat meat again, never. But for I don't know what reason, I could eat fish, not octopus, but fish. Now, slowly, I'm kind of turning into that kind of vibe, like, oh, I don't want to eat fish either again. And my relationship with all animals changed. Like, I have to say, except for mosquitoes, which I don't have pity for.
Neither do I.
But all the other animals, spiders, the little silver thing that live in the paper stuff, and bees or insects or flies or whatever. If I have any in my house, I gently, accompany them outside, or I just leave them inside. I'm not, I was never scared, but of course I don't live in Australia where spiders are like
Right.
this and they're poisonous. But here in Italy, there's no need to be scared, and I'm not impressed or anything. I like them. And after watching a documentary on spiders and learning that they have 16 types of web kind
Oh,
of
wow.
substance, and they change the substance depending on what kind of thread they need to to use. I was
Wow.
so fascinated, and I was like, really? I mean, so you can change.
Certainly. You can. I've gone all full circle to where I'm in a homeowners association, and they made us cut our shrubs next to our house, and I feed the birds. Like, we usually have 300 or 400 in my backyard every day. And when I do a show like this, as soon as I'm done, I go out and I sit there and I just listen to them, and they made me cut these hedges down so far. And that's the first time I've ever, I think, wept at nature, because I had spent so much time with these little people. I'd see it. You hear I'm calling them people. They're
Yeah, well, they are not people,
and
but still, they're
true.
beings, of
And
course.
and from when I learned, like, my Aboriginal culture, that everything is a person in its own right, because if you think of the spider who's doing its thing, and if you could ask the spider looks just like you or I at the planet, like, I'm the only one here. You guys are just, accomplices to my story, like how we fall into a lot of times. And everything that's living has a perspective. And then I started to realize, like, I need to respect even the smallest perspective to be healthy. Because to be healthy in indigenous ways is to have an ecological system that deals with its own self. So I don't spray weed killer and I don't spray bug stuff. But I didn't realize that at first it was like, oh, the chemicals are bad for my brain. And then I come full circle, like what you're talking about. God, I don't want to just murder these little things for no reason so that they don't irritate me. Is that what I'm worried about?
Yeah.
I don't like them. Like, it's just an idea that everything needs to be square and proper and clean and nothing on my stuff, or and a new mentality for me is, oh, check it out, there's a spider web in the studio, he's handling his business, right? Like, hopefully he catches the mosquito. That is new for me. I can say in my past I've been the non-compassionate sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't say I was your typical American because I've never been typical anything, but I've definitely was rigid and hard. And, I'm so grateful that I grew up in a mixed race household that gave me this like perspective of not really knowing. I kind of came out the gate having to learn that other people were racist. I didn't really get it. And so that was a gift. Had I not had that, I might have been just a real upset young man that, wasn't a good person. And so I think even in that, like, that's because I was able to gain another perspective, just like the bugs, another human, another shade, another part of this ball we're floating around on. Doesn't matter. We're all doing our best to just thrive and survive. And I don't think a lot of people are thriving. And I think people like you, and is my hope, is why I invited you, was to inspire them to maybe do some art, to go outside, to maybe think about something in your life in a compassionate way and cut yourself some slack, because if all people were doing that, it might soften a lot of these other things that are going on in our world.
Yeah, also because
ECOCIDE.
there are so many, I mean, billions of people. I mean, we are lucky. We are living in a way. I mean, I was talking with Rashmi, a person from India, a lady from India who started a foundation there. I mean, we in Western countries, in many countries, we live more or less. I mean, I'm not wealthy or rich, but still, I'm here. I'm in this house. I'm safe. I'm secure. I have food for dinner. So we are lucky. We should share our luck. We should seed beauty. We should do our part for pointing the light on what's good and sharing good instead of just wanting more for us and like complaining all the time. And for I don't know how much time do we have. I could talk with you forever, but
Absolutely.
because I wanted to say that one experience that really was important for me was I told you that I worked in advertising and marketing for the first 10 years of my professional life. And then I quit that job. I took a sabbatical. It was not a sabbatical because when I went to US, and when I came back here, I started painting and I started looking at my professional future in a different way. And I started working also with a small Italian NGO from Rome, which is called AIDOS. It's spelled AIDOS. And they were working and are still working with a lot of small business incubators for women all around the world.
Oh.
And I had the privilege to work with them in places like Syria before the war started, and Jordan and Nepal and Tanzania. So when you are involved and when you go somewhere and you're not a tourist, you work with people living there, with locals, and you have a slice of life. You realize how ridiculous our complaining. We really don't see some things. We really focus on some silly things. And of course, everything is relative. When you have basic needs, you cannot focus on other stuff. So first you have to solve the basic needs, and that's mandatory. We all should create the situation where people should not fight for their lives, and there's still a lot to do there. But here, we should focus on relationships. We should focus on, again, how we are in terms of psyche, in terms of emotions, in terms of feelings, in terms of who we are, not what we buy or what we have. First, who we are, then what we do because of who we are. And that's a full-time job also. I mean, I'm in therapy, it shows.
Me too.
Yeah. And I consider this a privilege again,
Yeah.
that I can go to therapy. And I'm changing my life. I'm saving my life, and also life of somebody else around me, probably. But this is important, to focus on the right thing, inside and outside. And I think there's nothing more important in life than relationships, actually. So once we catch this, the other stuff will be consequent, because I'm not interested in becoming a billionaire on the skin of somebody else. It's a literal translation from an Italian expression, sulla pelle di qualcun altro, on the skin of somebody else. I'm not interested in making tons of money just for what? For having more houses, for having a huge boat, for having... Because now we're focused on ECOCIDE, to go back to the topic.
Yeah.
And we talk about what we can do, everyone. The ECOCIDE is also because of huge corporations killing the planet. And it's all for money. It's all for profit. So,
well, and it's the cheap T-shirt.
And
it's what we're used to not wanting to pay. If a shirt was $75, because that's what it took, we'd be like, oh, forget it.
Yeah, $75 in a fair chain of, process of production and payment of all the figures involved. But you may pay like a branded T-shirt even more, but always 50 cents go to the person who probably saw it and created it. So
it's still a $10 T-shirt. It's just sold for $70. I'm saying, like, let's say a plain black T-shirt, no print, no logo. I have literally picked cotton before. I've felt what that feels like. It sucks. It pokes your fingers. So let's say you had to do that. I mean, I didn't spend a day at it or anything. Don't get me wrong. I just attempted it. So you have a machine that someone buys that's $350,000 that does it now. And then they make it into a pile. Right. And then you're talking about now someone has to take that and make that into a fabric and then into a shirt and then mail it to you. And then we want that to be $10. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense also because behind that cotton crop, there's, for example, all the other stuff we didn't talk about, like Monsanto, like, like, and people dying from diseases because they're...
I used to work for Monsanto. Okay. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I was selling conferences for them. I was only 19.
I mean, I worked for huge corporations as well. I refused to work for Nestle, and eating anything from Nestle. But anyway, this is another story. So behind that cotton, maybe there's hundreds of people having cancer or other kind of diseases because they spray Roundup like from planes, and it's all connected. We have to. It's huge. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not perfect. I still buy stuff every
Of
now and
course.
then. But the thing is, the more we are not afraid to learn, because it's too much. We push back this information. It's too much. It cannot be all on me. It cannot be all my responsibility. I cannot save the world or all by myself. That's
Right.
that's the reaction. It's too much. So if I do something, you do something, and I create a little, when I started going vegan, when I started eating just plant-based, after the first month where my friends were like teasing me and saying, "Are you okay? What's happening to you?" and blah, blah, they started in a couple of months, 3 months, many of them, like my closest friends, started changing their eating habits as well. So it's like, you're talking with one person, and that person talks with one person, and it's, of course, we don't have that much time, but now with internet we have the possibility to talk with a lot of people, what we're doing now.
Right.
So as long as we are non-rigid and not judgmental and not Nazi about it, but still, as long as we are honest and clear and say, you can make a difference, I can make a difference, small, but still, if I can indirectly save a day, save a life, wow, that would be huge.
Of
It's
course.
not even saving a life, but maybe changing the conditions for people. I was talking about tomato sauce. In Italy, we can buy tomato sauce for nothing, cents. And there are slaves in the south of Italy, and also around Rome. I mean, close to Rome here.
Wow.
A lot of people in the fields working for nothing, and there's a sort of mafia.
Right. Always. Always.
Always of people and so it's huge. But anyway, the thing is, everyone can do something. Every little thing, it's better than nothing.
Barbara, what a lot of people need is permission to think differently, and they need new ideas. And that's what we're trying to do here. We've gone an hour 20. I would love to continue this discussion, because I think I really want to talk to you more about the art, especially if you are in therapy and I'm in therapy and I'm working my art out here. I'm sure there's some real depth there that we could also share in another way that leaves a new idea for someone else for the next time, which is causing the ripple, like your friends that, like my wife, who's for years telling me to go plant-based. Why didn't you listen to me? Maybe I did all along, sweetie, if you're listening, but I'm a slow learner, and other people are slow learners. And so let's continue to be inviting, like you said. Let's be positive. Let's continue to think outside the box and have new ideas in this arena. But let's close out the show. Barbara, do you have anything else you'd like to share about any upcoming projects? Other than that,
no, I mean, you shared the Baci Sospesi link, and you can look at me on Facebook, and I'll be happy to connect, and on Instagram as well, with my name and with Baci Sospesi as well. So, and if anyone wants to join the project Baci Sospesi and wants to be a story donor, as I call them, of course, I'm more than happy, or just for a chat, I'm more than happy. And you can also find me on Pick My Brain. And so let's get in touch.
I love that. And I think I want to find out how to be a part of that.
Of course.
Every time I find out about these fun things that are leaving love on the table for someone else, it feels like fun to me,
Yeah, it is.
I flower bomb. So I plant flowers wherever I want. I
Yeah.
did during COVID, I did about 22,000 square feet around Seattle.
It's
So
guerrilla gardening, right?
yeah, so
Fantastic. I love it.
I like causing trouble in a loving way, or shaking the tree, or poking the bear. All those things are who I am. So, Barbara, thanks for coming today. You're a beautiful
Thanks for having
human.
me.
You're a wonderful artist. You've given us amazing ideas today. Don't go away. I'm gonna play our entrance promo one more time so people can dance on the way out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This has been just, well, for me, a wonderful experience. I just love meeting interesting people. I love being inspired by ideas that are not my own. So I'm going to pull myself off so you can get a full picture of Barbara's painting, which we used in the background, and then I'll play our little video. Gela Kasla, you have a great day.